Hey everyone, and welcome back to Angel Plus. I know it's been a very long time since I've done anything for this channel, aside from posting a lot of recordings that I've done in the past and stuff. But you know how things could be, with life and having a career and stuff like that. So I not give myself much chance to be on here as much as I can to really make content, but lo and behold, I will start making more content for this channel. And so I wanted to come on here and do a very special video for you all today. It's been one that I've been wanting to make for quite some time, and that is, um, here's the gist. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has become the most successful franchise in movie history, with over now 30 films in its arsenal, and as well as TV shows and stuff like that. It really shows like how much people want to be involved with the Marvel movies. But you may not know this, but also there has been actors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that before they entered the Marvel movies, they actually had a chance to play one of the founding members of the Beatles, which is John Lennon. And so today I'm going to give you a really awesome presentation to highlight the 5 actors who went from um, John Lennon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so the first person that we're going to talk about is Ian Hart. Now, Ian Hart is like actually the not only the first person in this list to play John Lennon, but also the first person to enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the first movie that he actually did 2 movies back in early '90s. One was called The Hours and Times, which is um, a fictional account of a supposed trip that he and Brian Epstein took to Paris in 1965, I believe. Um, but this is one movie that I think everybody wants to forget. Uh, and so, but not to worry, because he had a chance to play John Lennon again, in this time in a biopic for Stuart Sutcliffe called Backbeat. Now, Backbeat is all about Stu Sutcliffe from the time that he was going to school with John Lennon, to joining the Beatles as their first bass player, all the way until his death. And Ian Hart starred John Lennon opposite Stephen Dorff, who plays Stu Sutcliffe. And then it was in this movie that Ian Hart was able to really um, give us like a really better performance of John Lennon. After he did this movie, he went on to do like a lot of many amazing movies, like Enemy of the State, Harry Potter. He also did Finding Neverland, and a lot of movies. And then in 2013, he became the first of these Lennon actors to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe when he appeared in Marvel's Agents of Shield, where he was able to play Shield scientist Franklin Hall, who is a scientist who discovers gravitonium and how to use it in the show. Since then, he's gone on to do like a lot of more other movies and stuff like that. Um, so this is Ian Hart. Now, the next one on our list is Christopher Eccleston. Um, and one of the first things that he did was a made-for-TV movie. It was called Lennon Naked, which talks. It's basically about the last year of the Beatles, from the breakup of the Beatles going into John's early solo career with the Plastic Ono Band. And this is like one of many amazing performances of Christopher Eccleston. And after he did this movie, he went off to do a lot of other great movies and shows. He became like the 9th person to play Doctor Who. He was in the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, as well as The Others and 20 Days Later. And then, just like Ian Hart, he also entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2013 in the movie Thor: The Dark World, where he plays Malekith, the ruler of the Dark Elves. And that is him right there. And um, even though Thor: The Dark World was not a much loved movie, it is, however, also another great performance of Christopher Eccleston. And it's also like a very underrated movie, but it does, like, stand on its own as a really good film. I like it. Um, the next on our list is Aaron Taylor Johnson. Now, he is probably like the youngest person to tackle the role of John Lennon. What she did, and I want to say it was in 2010, where he played John Lennon in the movie biopic Nowhere Boy, which he plays John Lennon during his school years, and meeting Paul McCartney, forming the Quarrymen, and reestablishing his relationship with his mom Julia. And I really loved his performance as John Lennon, especially him doing his own musical stunts by singing songs like "Hello, Little Girl," Maggie May, and I think "In the Spite of All the Danger," which was like a McCartney song. And Aaron Taylor Johnson really does an amazing performance in this movie. And though this is one of his strongest um, roles, he did not get much attention until sometime later on that year, where he starred in the movies Kick-Ass, as well as Savages and Godzilla. But then we seen him enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2014 during a post-credit scene in Captain America: The Winter Soldier as one of the kids that Hydra was experimenting on to turn into superhumans. But he did get a bigger role in the movie Avengers: Age of Ultron, where it is revealed that he is Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver, which he stars alongside a lot of the amazing actors like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and starring opposite is Godzilla um, co-star Elizabeth Olsen. And this is like a really great performance from Aaron Taylor Johnson. It is sad that this is like the only movie that he really does fully in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that was mainly because of disputes between Marvel and Sony, since Sony was also working off of their own Quicksilver in the X-Men movies. Um, so sadly, they had to write him off. But Aaron Taylor Johnson did like an amazing job as Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver. The next person in this entry is gonna be an amazing actor who I admire a lot, named Jared Harris. And he has done a lot of amazing films throughout the years. But the one of the first things that he ever did was start opposite Aidan Quinn in a fictional account movie that came out on VH1 that was called Two of Us, which he's which he which is basically about the day that Paul McCartney went to visit John Lennon at his flat at the Dakota during 1976. It was on that same day where Lauren Michaels of Saturday Night Live offered the Beatles that $1,000 check to reunite and stuff like that. So, Two of Us is like a really amazing film, and it basically shows basically a fictional account of what probably went on in that one um, apartment room when John and Paul were together. Probably they sang a couple songs, probably they argued a bit, but ultimately solidifying their or re-solidifying their friendship. Which we hoped all happened on that day. Which it does goes to show that they did, make make amends and became friends again all the way up until John's death. Um, and Jared Harris really does like an amazing performance in this movie, and his performances are really amazing. That he goes off and does like a lot of other great shows and movies, like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Lincoln, Dr. Deeds, and even the AMC television show Mad Men, which I truly love. Um, and even though this movie is not MCU, it is in fact a Marvel movie, which he appeared in Morbius, which came out last year, where he plays Dr. Emil Nicholas, who is like a father figure to Morbius and Milo in the movie, and he's also somewhat of a scientist as well, but mostly acts as a father figure to Jared Leto. Um, and so I decided to add this entry into this thing because even though it's not MCU, in a way, it does tie into an MCU at the end of the movie. So I want to add Jared Harris because I want to also highlight him as another great actor that played John Lennon. Um, Even though his performance is a little bit wonky, but it cannot be as more wonky as the next and final um, addition to this list. And that is the final person that we're going to talk to about is Paul Rudd. And as we all know, Paul Rudd, he's an amazing actor. He started off in the movies Clueless and Romeo and Juliet back in 95, 96, and he went on to do like a lot of, very, very funny movies like 40-Year-Old Virgins, Knocked Up, and the Ron Burgundy movies. But no movie has been more funnier than appearing in the movie Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story, where he, alongside um, Jack Black, Justin Long, and Jason Schwartzman, played a very fictional version of John Lennon when Dewey Cox and his band goes off to Rishikesh to study under the Maharishi with the Beatles. And if you haven't seen this scene, there's like a full scene of this on YouTube. You gotta watch it because it's very funny to see Paul Rudd be John Lennon, and he's very, very funny as him, and especially like the little fights that he has with Jack Black, who's playing Paul McCartney, and it's a very, very funny like scene of them together. And though he was never credited, neither was um, Jack Black, Justin Long, and Jason Schwartzman as the Beatles. It was a very, very funny scene in the movie, and one you cannot really forget. Um, but all is not lost, because in 2015 he became like the last person on this list to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which we've seen when he starred as Ant-Man. And he appeared as Ant-Man in the first movie, and then he went on to be Ant-Man again in uh, Captain America: Civil War, and then he did Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then he became a very, very pivotal person in saving the universe when he joined the Avengers in Avengers Endgame, which was like which was the biggest movie in 2019. And now he's at it again, playing Scott Lang Ant-Man in the latest Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is playing in theaters at the moment right now. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a really great movie, and it sets the tone to this whole new saga that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at right now. So that is my presentation of actors that went from John Lennon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you've seen these movies, let me know in the comments, like, which movies did you like and stuff, and which actor do you feel did like a really better version of John Lennon. I think that they all did a really great version, except for Paul Rudd, which if you see, you'll understand why. But I don't know. He was very, very funny in those movies and in that movie, Wild Card. But all the other guys, like Ian Hart, Christopher Eccleston, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Jared Harris really did amazing jobs, and so but yeah, let me know in the comments. What do you feel? Who do you feel was the better movie of John Lennon? Who did like the better version of him and stuff? And also let me know if you've seen any of the Marvel stuff that they did as well. So thank you so much, and have a great one, and I'll see you all later. Stay tuned for more videos on my channel to come up of music and life and Marvel and stuff. So thank you so much. Have a great evening, everybody.